Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 6th of October, now it's 8:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I like to share with you for this moment, and I will start with a short summary of the situation on the battlefield. According to reports from Russian media and Russian Defense Ministry, there were no significant changes on any of the sectors of the front line. Mainly it's still artillery duels between the sides, in which Russian forces do have an upper hand, like in the drone wars, and also, of course, local scale skirmishes are taking place, local scale offensive operations and constant attempts to improve current positions. Yet again, all along the front line, initiative is in Russian hands, not just in the northern sectors of the front line or central sectors of the front line, but lately in the southern sectors of the front, also in Kherson, in Zaporozhye, and South Donetsk sectors. And well, I guess this operational pause that we are observing now will hold at least until winter, when, in my understanding, Russian side will begin to take decisive actions and conduct large-scale offensive operations all along the front line, from southern sectors up to northern ones. In my understanding, Ukrainian so-called armed forces no longer are able to conduct any large-scale operation whatsoever. And this is it when it comes to short summary of the situation on the battlefield. I will just add that during the previous night, as I reported on my Telegram page, Russian armed forces conducted yet another drone and missile strike on military and logistical infrastructure of Zelensky's regime. And during these main directions of these strikes were Kiev, Kharkiv, Zhytomyr, Kryvyi Rog, or Kirovograd, sorry. Kryvyi Rog also, Nikolaev, Odessa region, including the left bank of Danube River, city of Izmail, and Reni, and some warehouses and military installations in between these two cities on Danube River. Some other directions probably were also targeted, and about it we will learn during the day, quite sure. And of course I will share additional news on my Telegram and in the next updates. That's been said before I continue with the additional news, and there is plenty of interesting news, by the way. But first of all, let me note that this project with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, and Telegram, including this one, exists solely thanks to support of members of our community, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You can see links under this video in description box or in the pinned comment. That's been said, let's continue with some other news now. And the TASS news agency is reporting that this morning Russian armed forces repel drone attack of Ukrainian side, maritime drone attack in direction of Sevastopol, and governor of Sevastopol did write, Mikhail Razvozha did write on his Telegram that these sounds of fire and explosions that residents of the Sevastopol may heard is work of Russian military personnel that are neutralizing Ukrainian maritime drones. No reports about any damage or any casualties on Russian side. Also, RIA Novosti's report, according to which Russian armed forces did manage to improve their positions in 12 different directions in this zone of special military operation. Mainly it's the northern sectors of the front line, but also southern sectors, because lately I did report that lately Russian armed forces are beginning to conduct more and more intensively local scale offensive operations in Zaporozhye and South Donetsk sectors of the front line. And in my understanding, this is a preparation when it comes to at least Zaporozhye region. Russian actions are preparation to encircle and then neutralize Ukrainian grouping of forces in Orekhov bridgehead here. And I guess Ukrainian military personnel has only several days left if they want to flee this area. Otherwise they will probably be encircled and they will end up in a cauldron. When it comes to South Donetsk sector of the front line, it's also highly likely that Russian side will conduct local scale offensive operations and will try to regain control over the southern areas in Vremovsky salient. And also it's quite possible that Russian forces will try to neutralize salient of Ukrainian armed forces in between Uglidar and Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Avdeevka areas. But let's continue. And yet again, by the way, we are talking about local scale operations that will allow Russian side to improve current positions even significantly. But overall, of course, before large scale operations began, some time will pass, at least before winter, because rainy season has already begun, dear friends. Here in Moscow region, for example, every day is raining, and I guess situation is quite similar in Ukrainian battlefield, especially in the northern sectors. But it's only a matter of days, and all along the front line there will be rains, and these country roads and fields just will become absolutely unpenetratable for military equipment. And it's highly unlikely that any one side will be able to conduct large-scale offensive operations without any military equipment, just on feet. Anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti also is reporting that a Russian grouping of forces west did conduct 20 strikes. 20 strikes on Ukrainian positions, and during these strikes, Russian side actively used frontline aviation, Su-34 frontline bombers, and nowadays we of course see on daily basis videos on internet with strikes by Russian Air Force towards points of concentration of Ukrainian forces, towards warehouses where Ukrainian side is hiding military equipment, and also towards munition depots. As I said, the initiative totally is in Russian hands all along the front line, and the Ukrainian armed forces, so-called armed forces, because in my understanding there is no more Ukrainian army in existence, more or less capable army. What is left is some poorly managed, poorly led, poorly trained armed groups, armed formations that are unable to even hope to achieve any success on the battlefield. Although because of significant number of these Ukrainian formations, they still are forced to be reckoned with, and Russian side will of course act cautiously, because after all these individuals have plenty of weapons on their hands, and to neutralize them it will take time. But when it comes to army and how army should operate, Ukraine lost it. Ukraine just lost it. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that Shoigu, defense minister of Russian Federation, did made a statement yesterday afternoon that Russian Defense Ministry did create nine additional companies, and by Russian standard, company is from 1,000 to 2,000 military personnel, and these companies will be deployed to the front line as a reserve forces to reinforce several directions on the front. And as I reported, by the way, several days ago, already more than 325,000 citizens of Russia signed a contract with the army and voluntarily, and they are participating in special military operation. And because of this high number, which will probably reach 400,000 before end of this year, there is no need at this point in Russia to conduct a second wave of mobilization. And this information about creation of 9 additional companies confirms exactly that. Let's continue now, and we have statements from Putin. Yesterday, Putin participated in talks on the Valdai international conference about security and geopolitical developments, and Putin had Putin didn't just give a speech, but he also participated in dialogue, and he received dozens and dozens of questions. Well, he had a very busy day, I will say, and dear friends, I share on my Telegram at least partially, all the main topics that Putin spoke about it. This is my Telegram page, by the way, and just look at it. This is all topics that Putin spoke about yesterday. It's a lot to unpack, really, a lot to unpack. I will share with you just several his statements in today's update, but maybe Sunday during the live stream we can talk a little bit in the depth about statements that Putin made and what those statements mean for future developments. But well, at this point, let me continue with news. And one of the statements that Putin made was about Odessa, and he said that Odessa is, of course, a Russian city and a little bit Jewish. And this is true, by the way, not a little bit, but Odessa, I will say it's a Russian Jewish city with a big Jewish community. And this statement, in my understanding, maybe Putin meant something else. But in my understanding, in my interpretation, this statement from Putin definitely means that Russian side is not stopping until all the historical Russian territories will be liberated from Zelensky's regime that is controlled by Western so-called elites. And that definitely means not just Odessa and Odessa region, but also Kharkiv and Kharkiv region, also Dnipropetrovsk. Of course, also Zaporozhye region entirely, which is already part of Russia by Russian constitution, according to Russian constitution. And dear friends, which city is more Russian in Ukraine than Kiev itself? So I guess even though Putin did not mention Kiev, but I guess Kiev will also become under Russian control. And as I said many times before, after this conflict will end, the vast majority of modern Ukraine will be controlled by Russian side and eventually will become part of Russia, and the western regions of Ukraine that used to be part of Eastern European states before Second World War will eventually end up under control of those very states like Poland, Hungary, Romania, and possibly Slovakia. And when it comes to Ukraine itself, I will give 99% that Ukraine as a state will cease to exist, and that's it, really. Let's continue. And well, Putin also did spoke about this confrontation in between Russia and Western so-called elites, and he said that Russia is defending its own civilization, and this is true, by the way. All Russia wants is to be left alone, really, by Western so-called elites, but unfortunately it's not happening. And Putin did ask question. With Russia, it's obvious. It's on the surface that Russia is trying to defend its own civilization. But what Ukrainian military personnel is defending? What civilization? And that's a fundamental question if you think about it, because vast majority of Ukrainians, they are part of Russian world and Russian civilization. And I don't know what propaganda did to those people, but they should think more about their place in this life. But anyway, let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting about statements that former Russian president and current deputy chairman of Russian Security Council Dmitry Medvedev did made. And he basically spoke about this latest activization of some wings of the Western so-called elites that are more actively pushing or promoting ideas of peace talk around Ukraine. And Dmitry Medvedev did said that this is just a game on part of Western so-called elites. All they want is to gain some time because they are running out of energy. They are running out of support from Western societies, and means to continue this war against Russia. And they want to use this topic of peace talks to gain some time and to reinforce Zelensky's regime, to reinforce enemies of Russia. And this is very significant statement in my understanding, which thus highlights attitude of Moscow towards entire this story of peace talks or ceasefire or negotiations around Ukraine. Moscow did stated many times before that it's ready for negotiations, but of course on its own terms. And I don't think Western elites are capable of listening to anybody in this world, including Russian leadership. I don't think Western elites are capable of taking into account interests of others. And therefore, this conflict will continue and eventually will end with the full-scale disintegration of Ukraine. That's it. And by the way, TASS news agency is reporting that President of Slovakia, Roberta Fico, did make the decision to freeze any further deliveries of military equipment promised, by the way, military equipment to Kiev regime. And she said that because during the recent parliamentary elections in Slovakia, opposition party did won, who ran on the promise that they will change their policies towards Ukraine and toward this topic of privatization of Ukrainian topic over the interests of Slovakia and Slovakian people. So Slovakian president says let new government formed first, and then let them make decision about further steps of Slovakia towards Ukraine, which is the right step in my understanding, which is right decision. I don't understand why Slovakia or Slovakia's previous government positioned this state as enemy of Russia. but there are slight chance, I guess, that a new government of Slovakia will be more oriented or interests of Slovakian citizens and Slovakia itself. And if that's the case, then I guess Bratislava capital of Slovakia, isn't it? Or am I mistaken? There is so many capitals in this world, man. It's hard to remember all of them. Bratislava. Yes, Bratislava is the capital of Slovakia. So I did remember it correctly. But anyway, let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting, by the way, that based on Western media, in this case Politico, and well, according to this information, Biden's administration now is thinking to use money of State Department to continue this support of Kyiv regime, basically. But this is a game, by the way. All this talks about financial support of Ukraine that began in last, let's say, 2-3 weeks on high level. This is just a political game. I'm quite sure about it, and preparation of the ground by Western so-called elites and their puppets in offices in the Western states for distancing Western world from Kyiv regime and Ukraine when time is right. Because, as I said, decisions in major capitals probably already have been made, and even some negotiations did take place. How Ukraine will be disintegrated, how Ukraine will be divided between its neighbors, and what steps will be made to make sure that during this divide of Ukraine, there will be no direct clashes between, or at least there will be no large-scale direct clashes between Russian forces and the forces of NATO member states that will enter western regions of Ukraine. That's all, really. All these talks about financing Ukraine, weapons, and so on, it's just preparation of ground for this inevitable development sometime in the future. Let's continue. RT is reporting that well, Professor Jeffrey Sachs, I cannot remember he is a professor of which university, but one of the big names in US. But anyway, Jeffrey Sachs is a well-known individual himself, and he said that Ukraine's backers, blinded by hatred of Russia, basically he highlighted this xenophobia and Russophobia that basically taking over as a untreatable disease over the so-called Western elites, and he's absolutely correct. He is absolutely correct. Let me read several sentences. Kyiv supporters in the West are so driven by their hatred of Russia that they completely disregard the hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians who are dying in their futile efforts to defeat Moscow forces. US public policy analyst Jeffrey Sachs has argued. Sachs, an award-winning economist who advised the Russian and Ukrainian governments following the breakup of the Soviet Union, made his comments in an interview posted on Tuesday by US podcast host Andrew Napolitano. Oh, he was, by the way, I did share that interview on my Telegram when Jeffrey Sachs was on Judge Napolitano's channel as a guest, and well, of course, he is correct. Of course, he is correct. Unfortunately, xenophobia and Russophobia is one of the major driving forces among Western so-called elites. But once again, true rulers true rulers of the Western world, they think with by different categories. They are using those puppets in the governments of these Western states to conduct policies that they want to be pushed, and those puppets definitely are Russophobes. By the way, you can clearly see it. They aren't even trying to hide their Russophobia. But when it comes to true rulers of the Western world, I don't think they truly care about any nationality or race or religion. They have some. They are programmed differently, probably, and they have some different ideas, and they want to establish control over the Russia, not to destroy Russia, but establish control over the Russia to, in my understanding, to use Russia as a main theater of military hostilities with China. That was their plan, I guess. And probably it is their plan to establish full control over the Russia and then escalate between Russia and China and force China or provoke China to conduct some military action against Russia, which will eventually destroy not just Russia and China, but global South entirely. And probably entire world, by the way. And I did spoke several times about my vision of what was main goal when it comes to Russia for true rulers of the Western world, and it's a big topic. Maybe during the stream or one of the streams we can talk about it, but not now. But I'm quite sure true rulers of the Western world see Russia as a main theater of military hostilities with China, and they want establish full control over the Russia, then step by step turn away or move away Russia from China, and because of Chinese high dependence of Russian energy sources, if this process will happen simultaneously with destabilization of Middle East, and if China will end up without sources of energy, Beijing simply will be forced to act and take by force closest fields of oil and gas. And where those fields are? In Russia. That's a plan, in my understanding, of the true rulers of the West, and they will continue with this plan, but it did not work for now, because Putin's government is standing strong, as we all can see, and there is no internal disturbances in Russia, and no one wants or will support, at least vast majority, by the way, any attempts of regime change. And well, these Western rulers probably see it, although I don't think they will stop continuing to push in this towards realization of their strategic plans. But anyway, as I said, this is big topic. It's hard to explain everything in details in few minutes. Sometime in the future, maybe we will have talk about this. Let's continue. RT is reporting that well, NATO website, by the way, calls for nuclear war preparations. That's a quite level of madness that quite a few representatives of these so-called Western elites are demonstrating openly. And a former Pentagon's official, Gregory Viewer, by the way, has written an article which is on NATO's website, according to which this individual, this Gregory Viewer, is advocating for increase of tactical nukes in the Europe, and he's advocating that Europe should get prepared for a nuclear war, and the NATO mainly, in general, should get prepared for a nuclear war with Russia and be not afraid of nuclear war. I mean, how crazy is this person really? You tell me that according to him, Europeans should not afraid of nuclear war, man. I mean, this is article on RT, by the way, and I did share entire article in 2 parts on my Telegram, and you can check that there. It's interesting reading to see level of craziness of some representatives of Western so-called elites. But anyway, let's continue. Rianost is reporting that Turkey did made additional statements about this conference about Ukraine that will possibly take place in Turkey in October, and Ankara is saying that they want to invite Russia. They think Russia's participation in this conference will be crucial, but some other states are against it. So basically, Turkey is playing safe here. Russia is not invited, at least for now, on this conference, and probably would not be invited. I did spoke about it yesterday. And of course, leadership of Turkey do understand that Russian society and Russian leadership will see such moves from Ankara as an unfriendly step. And to minimize damage, it's damage control mode. Ankara is coming up with such a statement that, you know what, we understand that your participation is crucial, but they just look at them, and these crazy ones don't want talk to you, and well, sorry, it's not me, it's them. That's what Ankara is basically saying, and that's the right move, by the way, to make sure that there are no tensions, you know, to minimize risks of aggravating relationships with Russia. But anyway, let's or to frustrate some officials in Russia or Russian society. Now, let's continue. And now several more statements from Putin, by the way, that he made yesterday during his talk on Valdai conference, which took place in Sochi. And well, Putin said that Russia is leaving a European market, declining European market, and reorienting itself toward global south, which is you know, major economical force now. And by the way, this decision was based on actions of Western so-called elites, European elites. Basically, they forced Russia to leave European market and to move away or to get closer to global south. And it's good for Russia, for sure. It's good for Russia, but I don't see any good in it for Europe, really. And in my understanding, if we take a look at foreseeable future, if it's possible, my reading of the picture is that with Russia, Europe is maintaining relevance on global scale. But without Russia, Europe in 10, 15, 20 years time will be just a somewhat irrelevant province of Eurasia, somewhat irrelevant region of Eurasia. That's it. Tell me what you think about it, but that's my prediction for next 15, 20 years, that's my vision, that with Russia, Europe is force, and Europe will maintain relevance. But without Russia, I mean, does Europe even has a chance? Does EU, by the way? Let's say this way. Does EU even stand a chance to maintain relevance on the world scale? I don't know. I doubt that. And 15-20 years will pass fairly soon, by the way, and some of them may still around. Hopefully all of us will still around, and we will see if my vision is correct. But anyway, let's continue. Russia successfully tested the intercontinental cruise missile Burevestnik. This is also a statement from Putin. And this weapon is interesting because, first of all, because it has a nuclear energy source, nuclear power plant in it, and basically unlimited range. As I understand, this Burevestnik has unlimited range, and well, if state testing of Burevestnik has ended, then it's only a matter of time now, and these systems will become part of Russian deterrence force. And well, one more reason for these hotheads in the Western elites to think about their policies and how reasonable it is to further escalate with Russia. And also, by the way, Putin did mention two possible reasons why Russia can and when Russia will use nuclear weapons. And he said that Russian military doctrine highlights it all. Russia, according to doctrine, can use nuclear weapons only if it's attacked by nuclear weapons, by other countries with use of nuclear weapons, so it will be a retaliatory strike. Or Russia can use nuclear weapons if Russian statehood is under danger. And Putin was asked in that conference if Russian doctrine is little needs some adaptation to modern situation. Maybe it had to be changed to allow Russia first strike. And Putin said why there is no such a need, and he is right, by the way, because we can interpret danger for Russian statehood in many ways. So basically, Russia already has, according to its own doctrine, military doctrine, right for a first strike. If Russian government thinks that Russian statehood is under danger. And anything can be interpreted as a danger. For example, if and when Berlin will officially announce that they did deliver Taurus cruise missiles, long-range cruise missiles to Zelensky's regime, that can be interpreted by Moscow as a existential threat to Russian statehood, isn't it? Because theoretically, those cruise missiles can be used to strike, for example, on Russian nuclear power plants and cause immense devastation, unbelievable devastation. Is it a threat to Russian statehood? Of course it is. So there we go. Russia has, and the same can be said about ATACMS missiles when Biden will eventually announce that those weapons are in Ukraine. So Russia already has, according to its own doctrines, right to for first strike with nukes, and there is no need really to change anything in the doctrine. And but the fact itself that Putin was talking about it's a warning. It's a warning, isn't it? This is the warning to these so-called Western elites that there are certain steps that can be seen by Russia as an immediate threat to Russian statehood, and then things may escalate very, very quickly. But anyway, let's continue. And Putin, by the way, when he was talking on Valdai, also stressed that if any one country will use nuclear weapons against Russia, then Russian retaliation will be obsolete. Russian retaliation will totally destroy this country with no chance on survival, to survive. And this is true, by the way. This is true. Everyone should always remember that Russia has more nukes than even US. So, and by the way, Putin also did mention that Russian defense budget did reach 6% of GDP, which is approximately up to 200 billion, from 150 to 200 billion. This is not just defense budget. This is budget for defense ministry and for all the security forces. This is spendings on defense and security, basically, and this is the first time since the collapse of Soviet Union that Russia is spending such a huge amount of money on defense and security, 6% of GDP, or somewhere around 150 to 100 billion dollars. That's a quite amount, really, which is also understandable because of this special military operation. Of course, every single day of the special military operation costs, I guess, hundreds of millions of dollars. Let's continue. And RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, that's quite interesting, by the way. A US F-16 did shut down Turkish drone over the Syria, by the way, where Turkish drones were striking Kurdish positions on the northern part of Syria, northeast Syria. And well, at firstly, Turkey denied that US shut down its drone, but Pentagon official representative of Pentagon, Patrick Ryder, did said during the briefing that yes, US command think that Turkish drones were danger for US military personnel in that area, and they made decision to shut down one of those drones with F-16. That's a quite interesting development. As we all know, US is a major ally of Kurdish forces, when Turkey is a major enemy of the Kurdish forces. And we have now, I guess, first instance of direct military clash of these two NATO member states, Turkey and US. And no matter what you're gonna call it, misunderstanding, mistake, or whatever, fact is speaking quite loudly that one NATO member state shut down drone of other NATO member states because this drone was taken as a danger, or seen as a danger for US personnel on the ground. Let's see how will this situation develop further, but relationships between US and Turkey will probably continue to deteriorate further. RIA Novosti is reporting that in Abkhazia, by the way, in Ochamchir, Black Sea coast city. Let me show you Abkhazia. If you are not familiar, dear friends, Abkhazia, when Soviet Union collapsed, Abkhazia used to be autonomy. During the Soviet Union, Abkhazia used to be autonomous republic in Georgian Soviet Socialist Republic. like South Ossetia. And when Soviet Union collapsed, and during the collapse of Soviet Union, first conflict erupted in South Ossetia, then after in 90s, when Soviet Union was already collapsed, conflict erupted in Abkhazia, and these two states are recognized as independent. They did declare independence from Georgia, and then after 2008 conflict between Georgia and Russia, Moscow recognized independence of these states, and they are Russian military bases in these republics, and now they will be Navy base in Ochamchir. Also in Abkhazia, Tbilisi, of course, made a statement about it. Tbilisi is the capital of Georgia, and they asked Moscow explanations for this information or decision. But Georgian side was quite diplomatic, I will say, which is good, by the way, which is good. Because when it comes to Georgia, Abkhazia, South Ossetia, you know my take on this situation. I believe it will be best way to go forward for both three sides, and for Russia also, by the way. If Georgia, Abkhazia, and South Ossetia will conduct negotiations to build a confederation, to create confederation with the moratorium to leave confederation for at least 15 or maybe 25 years, to give a chance for to peace and peaceful development. And I'm quite sure this type of decisions, if sides will eventually come up with this idea and confederation, this will be greatly appreciated by Moscow, because with this move, Tbilisi and Moscow will have no reasons no more to did not improve relationships even greater in the future. Because right now, fact that Russia did recognize these republics and the Georgia did not. Of course, this fact makes relationships difficult. But confederation, as we all know, is a unity of states that have equal rights, and to make sure that this conference will hold, it only takes to declare moratorium on leaving confederation for 15 to 25 years, and I'm quite sure. And by the way, in this case, Moscow will not have to recall any recognition of Georgia and any recognition of independence of South Ossetia and Abkhazia. Moscow will just recognize this new confederation, and that's it. And this way, significant issues between Moscow and Tbilisi will be resolved. And I'm quite sure, after 15-25 years of peaceful developments, no one side, not Georgia, not Abkhazia, not Ossetia, of course, would not feel like they want to leave this confederation and then go alone. So just give it a chance, man. I don't understand why this topic of confederation is not a major topic in discussion between the sides already, man. I'm talking about this topic for 2 decades now, but it seems like no one else cares, or I don't know. But anyway, let me continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that today, by the way, France will begin withdrawal of its forces from Niger, and there are some reports that this process began even yesterday. But anyway, this is one more step towards full decolonization of African continents and African states. Less France in Africa, more freedoms means more freedoms for African nations, and I'm quite sure after France will be forced out of African continent, US is next. US is gonna be next for sure, and they know it, I guess. RIA Novosti is reporting that yesterday in Syria, in city of Homs, horrible terrorist act took place when in one of the military colleges during their graduation, terrorists strike area where people were militaries, graduates and their relatives were gathering, and according to data that media is reporting, 80 people were killed during this strike, and 240 people wounded. I did share video on my Telegram page. It's horrible tragedy. I mean, it's unbelievable, hard to watch. And the Syrian army and Russian Air Force began obliterating positions of terrorist organizations in Idlib province, and I guess nothing will stop from now on Assad government to establish full control over the Idlib province. That terrorist attack is last drop. I guess from now on there is no reason for Damascus to don't exterminate all those terrorist animals that are holding positions with active support of Turkey, by the way, and other NATO member states in the northern Syria, especially in Idlib province. And well, RIA Novosti is how long is this video? It's already 51 minutes. Wow. I should and I will probably end this video here. There are plenty of news really left. Maybe I should go through headlines only. So RIA Novosti is reporting that yesterday Putin also spoke about Prigozhin, and he said that according to investigative committee there was no outside influence on a plane in which Prigozhin was and some other leaders of PMC Wagner that crashed some time ago. And investigators, according to Putin, did said that some fragments, some shrapnels of hand grenades were found in bodies of killed people during that crash. Well, you know, and Putin also mentioned that, well, I don't know, man. Putin is saying what he is told by investigative committee, but same time Putin said that, for example, investigative committee did not conduct the testing of bodies on some substances, and if that test was not conducted, then question will rise how investigation was conducted at all, because it's obvious to make sure to check everyone to make sure that those people were not under influence of anything. So very story that will no matter how long will pass, there always will be questions. At this point, I think Russian investigative committee is moving towards direction that it was an accident inside the plane, something happened, and as a result of it, plane crashed. Someone may, I don't know, blow up hand grenade or something, but well, is it realistic? I don't know. But anyway, let's continue. Maybe there was explosion on the board of the plane, But we need, and public needs to know what explode and why. But anyway, I guess there always will be questions about that incident. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, Trump may become a House Speaker in US, which is quite interesting. I did read some Western media outlets and Russian media outlets about this topic, and well, according to some reports, Trump may consider, by law, by the way, it's not prohibited, outsider to become a Speaker of House. So theoretically, Trump can become a Speaker, although this never happened in US history. But it will be interesting. It will be interesting if for some short period of time, Trump will become a Speaker of House, because of course his main goal is to become President of US. But for time being, he can well act as a Speaker, and well, in that case, House of Representatives will definitely become a quite entertaining place. And people will start watching what is going on in the Congress. But anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that Japan is to speed up purchase of US-made missiles. Well, this is interesting because Japan, even though according to treaties after capitulation of Japan in Second World War, after Second World War, Tokyo has no right to have offensive capabilities, and that's why Japanese military is called the defense force. It's only supposed to have defensive capabilities, but last 10-15 years things changed dramatically, and now Japan is operating aircraft carriers, by the way. Formally, those aircraft carriers are called some cruisers or amphibious ships. But when I heard first time that Japan is beginning to purchase such vessels, I said straight away that this is because they will buy F-35s and they will use these ships as aircraft carriers. And well, it was obvious to me then, and I was quite right. That's exactly what Japan did. And this trend will of course continue. This trend will of course continue, despite the fact that Japan has no right to have offensive capabilities, because US is basically ruling Japan. US wants Japan to be armed to the teeth, to be used then against China, and nothing is stopping this trend, I guess. RT is also reporting that US mortgage rates hit highest levels since 2000s, and this is according to numbers from Bloomberg. And well, now mortgage rate is some 7.53%, which is by Russian standards not bad, by the way, not bad. But by US standards, this is I guess some unbelievable number, because if I'm not mistaken, there was times when mortgage was only like 2-3%. It was a long time ago, but still. And even even last year, by the way, mortgage rate was 5.5%. So increase on 2% in just 1 year, it's of course a big deal. And well, our friends from US will probably tell to us in comment section how difficult situation with mortgage really is, because it's in different countries this percentage point is different, and here in Russia, for example, if I got mortgage for 7.5%, I will say, well, that's a good deal. But for US situation is, and US citizen situation is quite different because they had different experience previously. So, you know, RT is reporting that Russia hands over nuclear fuel to Bangladesh, which is, well, great deal and major development for this nation, for Bangladesh. Russia is building nuclear power plant in Bangladesh, and the first nuclear unit of this power plant will be operational in 2024. And well, this is a huge step for Bangladesh to increase its on the path of energy security. And this information once again highlights that Russia is very much presented on the world scale, on the world stage, and if any one side in this confrontation between Western so-called elites and Russia, if any one side is losing position worldwide, it's Western elites. They are losing. But anyway, let's continue. This is gonna be last news for today's update. RT is reporting that Russian oil exports jumped 24% in just a week. This is also according to data from Bloomberg. Let me read just several sentences. So, Russian seaborne oil exports soared to a 3-month high in the week, up to October 1st, Bloomberg reports on Thursday, citing tanker tracking data. According to report, the country shipped roughly 3.72 million barrels per day of crude last week, a 24% weekly increase and the highest level since the week ending July 2. The surge lifted Russia's 4-week shipment average to about 3.3 million barrels per day. Well, Russia is still major player on energy market, and by the way, as we all know, even Western so-called elites are now forced to recognize that their price cap and their sanctions on Russian energy sector not that effective, really. And if any side was harmed by these sanctions, first of all, it's Europe. Not the USA, not North America, but Europe, EU member states. And this is it, by the way, for today's update. Quite a long update, but plenty of news, and well, hopefully you will find this video interesting, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary about any topic you like, just about anything. More likes and comments probably will help me to reach wider audience, to, you know, probably will help me to deal with this YouTube algorithm. And for very same reason, if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on any of the platforms that you are active on. And if you think this project, this channel interesting, useful, has some potential and deserves to exist, please consider to support my work with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which I do upload some extra content on regular basis. You can see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. I wish you a great day and a wonderful upcoming weekend. Take care and see you soon.